Now, I heard about this raffle, and I'm not quite in the 60s yet, but I'm approaching. So does that mean it's good enough for me too? I got to talk to the mayor about that one. I want to thank each and every single one of you. See, you've been the heartbeat of our city for so long. You've been the backbone of what helps to make our city great. And to know that this is about you, that we're focused on you and your needs, that to me is one of the things that you just can't go wrong on. I also remember when I went to the polls and our campaign just a few short months ago, one of the things I talked about is making sure we focus on the older adult population. One of the things I talked about is we're going to fight crime, and that's what I started doing. And we're going to do what we need to make sure you can enjoy your neighborhoods. That we're going to make sure that you can go to church in the evening service and not worry about being robbed, not worry about that carjacking. And that's where we're moving. That's why we're working closer with the police department. That's why we went down and fought for bills. And that's why when we got into the state's attorney's office, we looked at the infrastructure to figure out what can we do to make this office a better office. We're also making sure that within my office, the homicide division, that they have the needed resources that they need. And those allow us to get those violent offenders and put them in jail. Just this week alone, my homicide division had either sentencing of individuals who committed murders, pleas of individuals murders, or trials. 10 separate individuals that will be going to prison for murders. Just this week alone. That is something I've never seen ever, whether the prosecutor or the defense attorney. So those are the things that we're doing to deal with the violence. We're going to start holding people accountable for low-level quality of life crimes. But it's not going to we're going to lock them up because there's only so many police officers as it is, they shorthanded. So we also realize, let's do something a little different. Let's give citations so the individuals have an avenue to change their life. Now, that's what we're planning to do. We're going to roll this out. You're going to hear more about it. But the goal is when an individual has a citation, that they'll come to court. When they come to court, they'll have an arraignment. And they'll make a choice, because everybody has a choice in life to make. One, you can agree to get these low-level, these quality of life wraparound services that Monzi and our mayor has put together and given us. And if you don't want them, you're going to give me about $5 community service. And you get the wraparound, you get a job training, you get the education, you may even get a stipend. But if you don't want that, then you've asked my office to prosecute you. I don't want to prosecute you, but I got to hold you accountable because you just can't do what you want to. But I'm going to tell you one thing we're not going to do. We're never going back to mass incarceration. Mass incarceration put a lot of people that look like us in jail. And we're not going to do that. But we will hold people accountable. One of the things we began to do is we began to have training programs. See, we recognize that a lot of the young lawyers that we were hiring, they had never ever been a prosecutor. So they need to understand what it means to be a prosecutor. They need to understand what it means to truly treat the victims as victims, to make sure that we're there for you, the citizens that are paying our salaries. So we've had these training programs. We started March 3rd. We went to the court and said every other Friday in the afternoon, since there aren't really that many cases, could we please just not have any cases at all, and we could only do training for my young prosecutors, and the old prosecutors too. And the court said yes. So not only are we doing training to understand where to stand in court, how to ask questions, how to return calls and things like that. Yeah, they need to understand how to return calls, because I've heard a lot of times they're not returning y'all calls. I hear what they say. But we also recognize we have to understand how we need to work with the police better. And that's something my office has really been focused on as well. The training session isn't just about how to be a better prosecutor, but it's also understanding how the police do their jobs. See, we can't be better prosecutors if we don't understand what the police do. My other thing my prosecutors need to do, I told them they need to understand who these neighbors are and what's in their communities that you are prosecuting. Because every community is different. I see Miss Rita Bel Air Edison, so that's a totally different community over there on the west side, so we understand that. I'm Jackson, how you doing? So for me, when I look and see that, I understand that my prosecutors also have to understand what I learned on the campaign trail, that every neighborhood is different and your needs are different. And so that's what we're trying to teach them. Those are things you don't learn in books or in a courtroom. Those are things that you learn by getting out in the community. We went down to the General Assembly. I don't know if you heard, but there was a gun bill that I supported. And I was down in the General Assembly fighting. Now, I understand everything has its protocols. You should do things a certain way. And I didn't do things the right way at first. I'll be first one to admit when I make a mistake. But once I understand what I needed to do, I went right back down to the General Assembly. I talked to everybody I needed to. I apologized to everybody I needed to. And I explained to them that you, the citizens, need this gun bill passed. Because when I ran, I said, if you have a legal gun, you're going to jail. You said you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Because you were tired of all these guns, the shootings, being stuck in your house. And for me, what I realized, a criminal defense attorney, that individuals weren't afraid of the penalties. They would carry these guns and know that nothing was going to happen to them. I get it. So I went down, I begged, I pleaded, I fought, I cried, I did everything I could to say, the people who put me here want this law. Thank you, and I'm very glad to announce that the members of General Assembly, they heard you, and they passed that law.